Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Marla Martenson, author of The Buddha Made Me Do It. Marla, welcome to the show.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Are you ready to get started?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Well, I would say stay with it. A lot of would-be authors will have an idea or maybe kind of start or jot something down, but then think, it's too daunting. I don't know. There's too many authors out there. I don't know if I could do it. I would say just keep at it. Even if you write, one page a day, you're going to have at the end of the year 365 pages. You can write half a page a day. That's certainly more than enough for a book. So do that. And then I would also say get a good editor. Don't skimp on that. Don't skip that part, because even the best writers have editors. I've written 3 memoirs, and my books would not be what they are without my great editor.
Yeah, I think that's one of the greatest investments that you can make. It's not only marketing your book, but having a well-edited book, especially if you're going down the indie route.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Well, I think everyone knows that the publishing industry has changed dramatically over the past decade. And before, years ago, not so many years ago, it was like you didn't want to say that you're self-published. It was like if you weren't traditionally published, you weren't really taken seriously. But now it's really flipped, because the publishing industry, it's very hard to get published now. If you're going to go with the traditional publisher, you've got to make sure that you have a big platform, meaning they're going to ask you, how many followers do you have? How many YouTube followers? How many Facebook followers? How many Twitter, Instagram? So definitely, if you want to build an author platform, start getting those followers, get your blog, your podcast, whatever you have to do to start building a platform for yourself, so that when you do present your book, you can say, look, I have 50,000 followers or whatever, and I'm out there, I'm speaking, I'm traveling, I'm well able to promote this book. Because a traditional publisher they used to do they give you 3 months of somebody to promote your book, a PR person through them, and then you're on your own. And more so now, they really want you to be out there promoting the book, because a lot of times they'll lose money. They don't want to lose the business for them. They don't want to lose money on the book.
Yeah,
so that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah, and it's amazing how it's changed these traditional publishers, because with the exception of Random House, every other publisher is going to expect you to do the lion's share of your marketing. And as you mentioned, they're looking for people that already have those platforms, already have those followers. And then the other thing they might do is they might give you a piece of paper and go, here's some different radio stations and sources. Go ahead and reach out to them. And that's the extent of their PR. So it's amazing how that has changed in particular just in the past few years, where they don't want to market. All they want to do is find someone to platform, give them a little piece of paper and go, hey, have at it.
Right.
And
I have a YouTube channel, and I interview a lot of authors, and I work with some of the PR people. They send me the authors, and they're out there getting on YouTube shows, podcasts, whatever you can do. And if you could, and start writing before. If you start a blog or write some articles, just start getting your name out there as a writer. Very important. And you've got to have a good. It depends if you're doing a novel or a nonfiction, like a self-help book. It'll be different, because you'll have to have a proposal for nonfiction. If you write a novel, then you just send that, and if it's the next great American novel, you just might get picked up, even if you're an unknown.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Well, I did something kind of fun. I do angel readings too, and a lot of spiritual stuff. So I made these little flyers like on Canva, and I put them up and do Facebook ads and say whoever purchases my book gets a free angel reading with it. So that was fun. Think outside the box. Think of ways that you can combine things. Marketing, maybe if you're a coach, they get a book with it. Definitely Pinterest works very well for authors. Being promoted or featured on blogs. With my first memoir, Diary of a Beverly Hills Matchmaker, I reached out to bloggers, and I think I was featured on, maybe 30 to 50 blogs, and you could do blog tours. Start your own podcast. I started my own podcast. It's called The Mystical Matchmaker, and of course I mention my book in all my podcasts. So you can really, nowadays, you can start your own YouTube channel, you can start your own podcast, your own blog. You've got to be your own marketer and just think outside the box. I mean, nothing is too crazy. Just go for it. Think of anything you can do to let people know about it. I also made bookmarks with my book, and I remember I was in New York and I was riding places on the subway, and I'd see somebody sitting on the subway reading a book, and I'd say, "Hey, here's a bookmark for you," and I'd give out the bookmarks with my book on it. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Those are some things that I did.
Well, and all those pieces clearly help build your platform too. I want to ask you a little bit more about Pinterest. So what advice would you give to our listeners in regards to really able to utilize that platform correctly?
Yeah, Pinterest, I just took a little online class on Pinterest, and I have yet to do what they said because it's on my schedule, but there's you can make some kind of flyer, kind of Pinterest things with your book and leading that back to your blog with your book on it, or take something. So if you take something out of your book, let's say it's a mystery, so you'll maybe take some mystery quotes or some fun facts, maybe some facts about Jack the Ripper or facts about something, and then you'll make a Pinterest, what do you call it, a little blurb, a Pinterest pin, and then that will lead back to Amazon or lead back to a blog post with your book on it, and then people will share it. So you want to make things that people want to share, and maybe think of go on Pinterest and check out what are some of the popular boards, what are things popular that people are sharing. It might be mystery, it might be horror, it might be romance, different things, self-help quotes, and then see what people are sharing, and then make some really great pins for that leading back to your book.
And essentially those pins are basically just genres, right?
Yeah, they could be for help, you have different boards, and then I have a board I love bats and Halloween, so I'll have Halloween stuff on one, I have a soulmate stuff on another, I have travel on another one. So there's all sorts of categories, and people make boards into those categories. Go on Google, go on YouTube, and put in how to use Pinterest for authors. There'll be a lot of information on Google and YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is my best friend.
Yeah, my VP Customer Relations, she actually just created a page for us for the podcast on Pinterest, and she was explaining to me how the boards work and all that different things. And as I thought about it, it seems very similar to Amazon categories with books. That's the closest connection I can make with it because of all these different subgenres and areas.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing that can happen is one of your pins just goes viral and people keep sharing it. So that would be a good thing to Google, how to make a pin go, what pins go viral. It's some of these things, it takes a while to kind of tweak it, to investigate, to read about it and play with it. But then once you got it, it's easy. It seems daunting at first. There are being an author, I want to start on my next book, but you always trying to promote your last books and get your platform bigger for another book. And it's nowadays, you're right. Nobody else is going to promote you but you. It's really you. So we're doing everything. We're writing, we're promoting, we're selling, we're doing everything.
Yeah, my last book that I just finished, it's actually called Podcast 101, ironically enough. It's my 14th book, and I found it a real struggle to get the book finished with the podcast and my business and all these other things going on. And I just literally sat down Sunday and spent 12 hours straight finishing the book. Got it done 1:30 a.m. Monday, sent it to my editor, but I had to give myself an incentive. So the incentive was I bought tickets for the Cowboys game that was Monday night, and the key was if I didn't get that book finished, if I didn't get it to my editor, then I wasn't going. So after you drop 150
Oh,
bucks on tickets for a game, it motivates you real quick. So I knew I needed to have that carrot to dangle. And it's just funny how that
yeah.
works because you're right. When you have more and more things going on with your platforms, with your podcast, with your publishing company, all these different things, then it's really difficult just to zero in on one thing. So it's definitely a challenge.
It is, and it can just feel overwhelming. Sometimes I feel paralyzed with everything I have to do, but then I have to take a deep breath, and then I just make a little list. I say, okay, what can I do today to get done on, a couple of things, and then I just do those, and at least I can, if I cross a couple of things off, I feel like I've accomplished something. So we have to chunk it down, otherwise we just feel overwhelmed.
What I've done to help with that, because I've had the same exact challenge, Marla, and what I've done is I actually just have a list now. It's 3 items, and that's it. My goal is to get those
Mm-hmm.
3 items done, not 12, not 20, three key
Yeah.
items that are going to move my business. And as long as I get
Mm-hmm.
those checked off, it is a great day.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. We don't want to kill ourselves either. We have to enjoy life too. Get out and take a walk or do something in the middle or go take a yoga class and then get back to it. We forget to live sometimes. We got to get to all those things done.
Yeah, you got to monotask and not multitask.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
let's talk about your favorite book. So, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, gosh, I'm a bookworm, so there's so many. But what I picked today is a book that I often recommend. It's called No More Mondays by Dan Miller. And actually, I think the updated version is No More Dreaded Mondays. Fire yourself and other revolutionary ways to discover your true calling at work. And when I left my job in 2009, it was in the middle of a recession, and it was a good job, but I had problem with the boss, and anyway, I left, and it was like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I took this book into bed with me every evening and read it, and it just gives you so many ideas on how to be an entrepreneur, how to get out of the nine to five grind and go, use your skills to freelance and make more money and have more time and do things on your own. And I think authors would love this, writers, because we like to kind of be our own boss. We don't, that creativity, we kind of like to hole up in our own little home office. And this gives some great ideas on how to, free yourself up to do that and make enough money to be able to do it. Because also, when we're a writer, we're also that starving artist, quote, we don't always make money from our writing or our artistic pursuits. So we've got to have a job and have money coming in to support that dream. So that's one of my favorite books. I still look at it often. No More Mondays.
I've actually noted it. I'm going to check that book out because I think I could use to read that as well, because I actually brought on staff this month and essentially fired myself from a lot of duties with the day-to-day operations just so I could focus on the content creation, because that to me is
Mm-hmm.
my greatest strength. It's not the rigmarole, it's not the
Yeah.
processes and everything. So all the systems and processes I created, I've passed on now to my team and they take care of it, and I get to just focus on the fun stuff, and it definitely makes a
Oh,
big
that's
difference.
phenomenal. That's great. Yeah.
Well, Marla, for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Well, I'm a big Edgar Allan Poe fan, and I love his quote, "I was never insane except upon occasions when my heart was touched." And as a woman, I can relate to that. As a matchmaker, I'm a professional matchmaker. That's how I make my living. And definitely when our hearts are touched and we're in love, we do go a little bit insane at times. So love that quote.
Well, Marla, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Yeah, my website has everything that I'm doing, my books, podcasts, YouTube show, all of it. And it's my name, marlamartenson.com, MarlaMartenson.com.
Marla, thanks again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thanks, Paul. Bye, everybody.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.